Tania Sturt currently manages Standing for Women New Zealand and Women Act Up, and was one of the organisers of Let Women Speak New Zealand Justice on the 20th of September, as well as Let Women Speak at Albert Park in March this year. She has been actively involved in the New Zealand gender critical movement since 2018. Kia ora, Tania, and welcome to you.
Thank you, Janet. I'm Tania Sturt, and I run Standing for Women New Zealand, which is Kelly J. Keen's organisation and the New Zealand branch of it. And I also run Women Act Up. I'll be talking about the organisation of Let Women Speak New Zealand Justice on the 20th of September. I'll also talk a little bit about Let Women Speak at Albert Park in March, and a tiny bit about Women Act Up and a little bit of an update around them. I organised the Let Women Speak New Zealand Justice event on the 20th of September with three other women, Sabina Schneider, Terry Lipanovic and Marie Doherty. Terry and I were also two of the organisers of the Let Women Speak event at Albert Park in March this year, while Sabina helped in the background also as well. I was physically assaulted at Albert Park by unknown men, and I'm the second victim in the assault charges against Rubashkin, who was the tomato juice thrower. The first victim, obviously, was Kelly J. Keen. The Let Women Speak New Zealand Justice event was scheduled for the same day as a hearing at Auckland District Court to determine whether the two charges of assault against Rubashkin would be dismissed. Kelly J had announced she was coming to New Zealand to hold a Let Women Speak outside the court. So when we started organising for the Justice event, we were really aware of the differences between March and this September event. Our scope was different, firstly. Kelly J managed her own schedule, her own security, the advertising and the media. So our scope was around more of the background stuff. In particular, our first challenge was the location. It became clear pretty early on that the district court wasn't a great place to have a speaking event or a speaking protest. It was pretty unworkable. It's on a busy road. It's on the corner of a busy road and a narrow street, and it's in the CBD. And there's also a significant amount of construction around there at the moment. There just wasn't room for the amount of people we were considering would be coming. So we started looking a little bit, it was actually close by, but we did look further afield. We were aware that any potential issues may arise. From the beginning, we had plan A, B, C, and D. And we decided really early on that if Kelly J couldn't attend for any reason, whether she couldn't get in the country or she decided not to come or whatever, we would still go ahead. We had our rights taken away from us in March, and they did it with their fists, and they did it with noise. And it's really important, it was really important for us that this event went ahead with or without Kelly J. We felt that the New Zealand gender critical movement should not be and is not reliant on activists from overseas. We need to stand on our own 2 feet in our own country. We knew we would have trouble getting suppliers for things like fencing and for security and things like that, and we did. We tried to jack up security with an organisation, and they did withdraw, citing they were contracted elsewhere. We didn't have a lot of time to organise. We only had 4 or 5 weeks. And to get a permit for an event, an outdoor event in Auckland, it takes 6 weeks from submission of the application, which takes a significant amount of time and effort anyway, to get an answer. So we decided to go with nominating it as a protest. When it's a protest, you don't need a permit. We also decided not to fundraise, and any expenses have been out of our own pockets. The reason for that, twofold. The main reason is that a lot of women donated to the last Let Women Speak in March, and we felt it was unfair to ask again for more money, particularly as March didn't go ahead. And then secondly, it also prevented any allegations of us using money from Nazis or right-wing conservatives or whatever the problem is now. We just wanted to make it really clean, so we put our own money forward for it. But the main difference was between those two events was around the concern of women and men and other gender critical groups, and the overwhelming distrust of the police. That's fair enough. I mean, I didn't have a lot of trust either. They really did let us down in March. I don't think there's any argument about that. We knew we had to just try and get on and do the job and not get caught up in any of the rumours or the worry that was just sort of circulating on social media and so on. But we also had to be really careful with what we said. We didn't want to promise things that we couldn't deliver on. And we played things really close to our chest also because we didn't want any leaks. Kelly J experienced a leak last time in March. It meant that she had to scramble around to find another hotel as soon as she landed. And we really didn't want any of that sort of stuff going on. Unlike in March, the mainstream media were silent, which was good in a way. They weren't marking things up, but it meant that there wasn't a lot of information getting out there. And the one approach we made to a media outlet was ignored. I think Kelly J did a couple of interviews, but she mainly relied on her own platform. There was also not a lot coming from the anti-woman activists as well, with the likes of Rabashkin and Chanel Lau saying it's best for everyone to stay at home because the turfs are too violent. Apparently we carry guns, which was fascinating. I didn't realise that. They did start sort of talking up a little bit after Kelly J announced she wasn't coming though. We made contact with police pretty early on, and Terry and I met with senior police staff in person. In that meeting, it was an hour-long meeting, and we both parties acknowledged that Albert Park didn't go ahead the way it should have, that we needed to build trust again. So that's what we did. We kept communicating by email, face-to-face, phone, and I think that played out extremely well in the end. I had two representatives from two separate political parties reach out to me, both offering support. Both stated there would be representation on the day, and they would have candidates there at the protest. One reneged a few weeks later and said they were too busy. The other party met with us and they stated they'd be able to help with security in the form of 6 or 7 men and 3 or 4 women. Some hours after that meeting, police contacted us and explained the level of engagement they would give us, and we were really pleased with that. I did tell everyone that I danced around the room after that phone call. It was well beyond our expectations. It was well beyond what we'd even hoped for. And I told the marshals it was literally 10 times more than I was hoping for. So it was a good day for me. It was then that we realised that the police would be able to bring much more effective support than any security company or group of men could do in New Zealand. A few hours after that phone call with the police, Kelly J announced she wasn't coming. As I said earlier, this was one of the situations we considered, so we quickly put Plan B into place. And a short time later, the political party representatives that we'd met with, they texted and said that they were too busy with the election to assist anymore. So we went with police only, and I'm glad we did. I had a meeting with the marshals, and there was some anxiety, and I was expecting there to be some anxiety. I said to them that it was entirely up to them whether they wanted to remain as marshals, that if they wanted to leave, that there'd be no hard feelings. It was a lot to ask of them, because a lot of them didn't know us. It's hard to ask people to trust you. And I can say I'm so proud of all of those marshals, because not one of them resigned from that position. Not one of them left. They all turned up on the day, and they all did the job. And I think that's pretty incredible, actually. I'm so proud of them. I guess the rest is history, or history. In my opinion, Let Women Speak was near perfection. So many things could have gone wrong, but they didn't. And as far as I know, not a single person was hurt. And that was the main thing that I was concerned about. It was the main thing that the rest of the organisers were concerned about, and the police as well. We had police on site with the organisers at 8:30 a.m. as promised. We had assistance from some men who turned up, which was great, and they were respectful and let women take centre stage, let them have their space and their voice and the microphone, and that's what I asked for, and they did that. Thank you for that. We were pleased that the anti-woman activists were small in numbers. We outnumbered them by far. They were small in numbers, but they were awfully obnoxious. We had a slight disagreement over boundaries at one point, and I put up a little bit of a fight just for funsies. But actually it worked out really, really well that we moved our place that we planned for and moved it to the back near the cathedral. It was a lot safer. It was further away from them, and there was a sort of neutral land around the terraces in the venue in the middle. So they were quite separated from us. So we had about 400 people apparently attend, which was amazing. That's on our side, I mean. And we spoke. We took back our rights that the misogynists took from us in March, and we did it peacefully. About halfway through, they started trying to move into our space. As you can see on any footage that there is, police pushed them back. They made some noise, but from where I was, which was at the cathedral doors, where the mic was, honestly, it didn't make much of an impact. Could barely hear them, and it really wasn't relevant. We just ignored them and carried on speaking. They attempted to silence us, but they got pushed back. And the best bit was that they went home early. So they went home, and we kept talking, and we won. We won. I would like to thank the women who turned up on that day, even though they would have been quite cautious and there would have been some nervousness and fear. They had no reason to trust us, but they were still courageous enough and passionate enough about women's rights to come along anyway, and I really want to thank them. I also want to thank the three women who supported me, Terry, Sabina and Marie, and they worked so damn hard to make it a success. It was brilliant. A couple of days after the Justice protest, I received the results from my Official Information Act request, and my lawyer had asked for all communication, reporting and messaging that the police had kept a record of in regards to Albert Park. It was heavily redacted, but a couple of things stood out for me. Firstly, that initially when contact was first made with police and they were notified of the Albert Park event, they actually assessed it as no risk. And after Melbourne, the risk assessment, the Let Women Speak event in Melbourne, which was quite violent and unpleasant as well, after that event, the assessment for risk went up only to low. interestingly. They appear to be also working on the perspective that the Let Women Speak event and Destiny Church event, which was held at AUS Square at the same time, were sort of linked in some way. The only way they were linked was by the timing, that they were both on at the same time. But the police have records saying that they allocated 55 staff to both events. And given the fact that I didn't see a single police officer once the riot started, I would have to say that most of them were down in AUS Square. I also heard the recording of my own 111 call, and I could hear myself. I don't know why she couldn't hear me, but anyway, that was fun. That sort of ends it on a negative note, and I probably need to make it a little bit more positive and say that as bad as police performance was in March and September, it was absolutely perfect. I have no complaints, and I'm happy to work with them in future. I'm sure they'll be happy to work with me. I'm pretty fabulous. But anyway, we'll see. Finally, I also run Women Act Up. And under that banner, I collaborate with Suzanne Levy from Speak Up for Women. And we run some protests, similar to Let Women Speak, though we do mix it up a little bit. We've done 4 events, 2 in Wellington, 1 in Nelson and 1 in Auckland. And next week on the 8th of October, we're going to Hawke's Bay. So we'll be at the Tom Parker Memorial, I think it is, at 12:30 p.m. Please come along, especially if you couldn't make it to the 20th of September. We won that day, and I'd like to keep that winning streak going. So I'll see you then. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks very much, Tania. And yeah, that was really quite a journey, wasn't it? Amazing sort of journey from something really awful to a wonderful triumph later on. So here's hoping it continues like that. And fantastic organising on the part of you and your helpers too. So yeah, thanks a lot.